Lovely. Okay. So good morning and very warm welcome to the Kingston Borough Business Awards kind of Q&A session this morning. Um, this is this is a very informal process, really. I'm just going to run through sort of for those who aren't familiar, just sort of some of the overall processes, and then I will supply some essential top tips. At any point, if you've got any questions, please ask me, and I will do my best to answer it. And if I can't answer it here, if it may be very particular to your own business, then maybe we'll take this offline at another point and continue the conversation there, because there may be things which are particularly pertinent to you, which you may want to just have in a one-to-one situation. But as I say, this is going to be about half an hour, 40 minutes, if that. I say it is recorded because there's a number of people who watch this at a later date. The advantage for you is that you can actually ask me a question as I go along or at some particular point. So what I'll just do is I'm just going to start sort of from the top down to the beginning in terms of what are the core things about the KBBA, and I will have to keep pausing to let people in. And then, as I say, go into the top tips. So, and some of this you may be familiar with, Sheetal you may be a little bit familiar with, but I think maybe Vikas and Adam and a few others will not. So, from the beginning, how do I enter? The KBBA, it's an online portal. That is the only way that you can submit your entry into the awards. We've used this online portal. It's called Awards Force. We've used this from the very beginning. And it is from the feedback we've had and from what we can see, it's a really easy, user-friendly portal to use. So all that you would need to do is set up your name, register yourself with your email, and the advantage of it, I'll come to this a bit later, is that you can go backwards and forwards. So once you've started your submission, you don't have to do it all in one go. You can keep going backwards and forwards to it until you press the submit button. And over the number of years, some people have had about 2 or 3 submit goes. So don't necessarily think your one submission is it. You may retrospectively just let us know and we will be aware of that. So it's an online portal. The entry deadline, if you aren't already aware, is by the end of Friday, February the 13th. Okay, then we go into when you're submitting that, sort of actually another key thing. Where am I based? This comes up a lot now with our predecessor who they used to run the awards and ourselves. This is always has been a slightly awkward and contentious definition, in so much as that we know there's a lot of people who may work just slightly on the other side of the river. Previously, they wouldn't have been allowed. But what we say is we need to show evidence of either your home addresses in Kingston, your business addresses in Kingston, and by Kingston, I mean the whole of the borough, not Kingston Town Centre, obviously, and or examples of the work and the services you provide into the borough. So there's a number of people who work ferociously hard in Kingston, but they may be allocated working just outside, but we need to see clear evidence of that. This is open to chamber members, non-chamber members. It isn't quite enough to say, I'm a chamber member. You need to demonstrate the activities that you provide in the borough and make it really clear. And that is a really important thing. So where am I based? It can be your home address, your business address, or provide clear examples of how you work inside the borough. There may be, for example, like Lisa, who may be a part of a franchise, it may be directly to that borough that she can provide clear evidence of what she does. Going back to the portal a little bit, is there a word limit? When you submit your entry, there are specific word counts which you'll see depending on the question. They range from around 250 words, 300 words. But this year, what we have done, which hopefully will be a little bit easier for you, is that we've actually indicated sort of what percentage weight a question will have. So each of the questions will start with a kind of a consistency and standards question, which is, I've just got something in front of me, which says, describe how you maintain a consistent high standard of customer experience across your business, highlighting systems, training, feedback processes. That's to do with excellence in customer service. Now that has a kind of a 10%. The next question will be improvement of innovation. That may show 35%. Real world impact, 20%. And supporting evidence would be 20%. So it allows you to see, this is where you may need to put more particular attention into your answer. Is there a limit to the number of entries I can submit? No, there are not. There's a number of businesses which can overlap in various different areas. So you could, for example, sort of go in for excellence in customer experience, and you might be a best startup, you might be an excellent best freelancer and micro business. You can enter different categories. What I would always say is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel with the content. The bulk of your content could be quite similar. You just need to top and tail it so it is particularly relevant to that category. Don't just go, I've done it once and I'll then place it into another category or another category. That's really not going to work, because the judges are going to look at it and say, well, that doesn't really kind of make sense. They haven't really looked at that category. There is a chance each category is judged by 3 judges, independent judges. There's a good chance that if you were to enter a couple of categories, you will get different judges looking at it. But you may, on the odd chance, get a judge who's familiar with both. So just be really careful of that. So yes, you can submit in multiple entries, and there's very good reason why you may want to, but just top and tail it, make sure that you can look at that and think, yes, that's really pertinent, really accurate to that particular category. Supporting materials. It's quite interesting with this, because over the years I've seen how supporting materials work well and may not work so well. But in terms of what can you submit, you can submit additional Word files, a PDF, JPEGs. Zip files and videos can't be accepted. You would need to put your video link into the portal. Just put in the link, and then the judge can look at it that particular way. But what I'd always say is, because last year somebody submitted really beautifully contained PDF files, but there's a lot of content there, and it's almost like reading a book or looking at a reference. You need to see clearly where the supportive document is linking to what you put into your answer. So you can say, in the same way that you maybe conventionally put, say, appendix, you say, see appendix, see PDF 1, see PDF 2, and spell it out. Make it really obvious what the judge is going to look for. So last year, as I said, there was a raft of information, but the judge, they will go through it, but they're not sure what they're looking at, which creates a certain degree of, oh, what am I doing? I can't see what I'm trying to get here. So make it really obvious that if you're putting supportive evidence in, this is the supportive evidence, this is what this shows. So it's really easy for the judge to put the two together. In terms of a file upload limit, all files must not exceed 5 megabytes. So that's a fairly substantial sort of, I think that's a fairly good capacity. And I don't think we've ever had an issue with file size of PDFs, etc. Then The one other thing which I want to draw your attention to is who is judging these awards, because this is, I think, one of the most important parts for the Kingston Borough Business Awards. So the awards are judged by a panel of business leaders and experts. Each sponsor will be a judge, but they cannot judge a category which they are sponsoring. Clearly, there will be a conflict of interest with that. And the judging is a really rigorous process. So it's made up of two stages. One, when the portal is closed, once all the submissions in, each judge, they will have around 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so to look at these. They will there'll be 3 judges per category. Each judge will look at the entry by themselves in their own time, and they will score it. So at the end of each of the 3 judges independently looking at it, there will be a total on the portal which will say 40, 38, 37, or whatever the score is. That is the first stage. The second stage is that we then go a judging day. And on that judging day, all the judges come into the room. We put up onto the screen saying, this is what the scores are. And the judges will then sort of say, actually, that aligns with what I thought. Some will say, no, that doesn't. We've had over the last 3 years, we've had the portal will give a top 3 or top 4. The judges have looked at it and thought, do you know what? I think it should be this. They've turned it completely upside down. So this is not for those who get nervous that everything is just done by an automated portal. It's not. It's there as the foundation, but the judges then give and they often go into breakout groups, discuss it, come back. We've had a number of groups where the judges have gone out 3 times to really make a decision, and then they've come back, and then it's given. So yes, it's automated to begin with, but it has this real human interactive bit afterwards to say, yeah, we are absolutely happy with this. So any entry is really given a very, very strong look, consideration, and detailed approach by the judges, and it's extremely transparent. So that is how the judging process works. Before I go on to top tips, are there any questions at this stage? I think Adam might be, because he's looking further up at the screen, but maybe not.
Yes. Quick check, Forbes. Thank you for that. It's really clear on the site now. Assume the categories are the same. The criteria, sorry, are the same for each of the award entries, or are they slightly different?
They are broadly the same.
Right. Yeah.
They are broadly the same. There are some which, by the nature of the work, is a little bit more niche-like. So, for example, the best culture and arts will be a little bit different from excellence in customer service, but the essential core bits, which as I go into the top tips, will become particularly relevant, but they are more or less the same. Thank you. Rachel.
Hi there. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. Just a question on answering the questions and talking about your impact. How far back can you go? I mean, are we expected to talk about the last kind of financial year, business year, or can we kind of extend and talk about our historical impact? I guess, yeah, be helpful to get
that's a really pertinent, good question, actually. First of all, as you mentioned, the financing, none of the questions will ever ask about finances. There'd be nothing to say, prove evidence of finances or anything else like that. Really, we're looking at the last 18 months, to be honest. If there is something which is, for example, from 2 years and is ongoing, if there's a journey which something has taken, it might have started 18 months, 2 years ago, and it's coming into effect now, then I think that is valid. I don't think anything beyond 2 years is is appropriate, if that's the right word. But I think if there's a journey, if there's a program which you initiated and it's coming to full effect, then I think that is absolutely valid.
Okay, thank you. That's
Does
helpful.
that answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I can't see any other hands, so I'll move on to the top tips, which I think will hopefully capture a lot of other things. Okay, the KBBA is not about the size of your business. This is really in size or where which sector you work in. It does not matter if you're one person or you are a team. It is the impact you have had on your clients, your customers, or your patients. Over the years, we've had a dry cleaning business win. We've had a wheelchair provider come second last year, and we've had 2 yoga teachers win in the health and fitness category. So it is quite eclectic. It is quite diverse. So it's really important to think, well, I do this, it's slightly kind of a little bit more obscure, it's a little bit around the fringes. That does not matter one single bit, because the next top tip is that this is all about telling your story, making it your voice. Don't try to pretend that you're something which you're not. Use your language, use your voice. And again, you can often see that in entries. It does tip into when I say that as well, it's important because we can't check for a submission which has been written by AI. And there isn't a kind of a curfew, there isn't a kind of a way we can't stop that. But we can clearly see, as a facilitator and as judges, we can clearly hear the voice from somebody. It doesn't matter if you don't have the best English in the world. If it's your voice, your message, that is what is really, really important. Be careful not to repeat yourself. By this I mean that there's a number of entries over the years where they've answered, if there's 4 questions before the client summaries and testimonials, there'd be 4 questions. The top 2, they may answer really well. But then the next 2, they kind of almost repeat themselves again. And it's an element of just kind of looking at it, stepping back as the third person, looking at it, thinking, well, kind of more or less said the same thing in question 1. So just be careful not to repeat yourself in answering these questions. Always look at the question. Answer the question and not what you think you would like to say. And again, by that I mean is that you will probably have a lot of content you want to put in. But again, we've seen evidence of thinking, but they've not actually asked the question. It's interesting what they put, but it hasn't actually answered the question. So just be really mindful. Again, always just step back. Have I answered exactly the question which they're looking for? And when I said, so double check your answer, be firm in yourself. Does this really answer what's being asked? And always assume you're explaining what you do to somebody who has no familiarity with your sector or work. Almost as if you'd gone into Kingston's High Street and said, this is what I do, and you were to summarize it to them. Don't assume, oh, everybody knows about beers or sort of having a picture taken on a video, and never assume anything. Each judge will come from a different sector. They may not be so familiar. So treat it afresh. Spell check. It may seem really obvious to say this, but we've had entries in the best excellence in professional services, which has been littered with spelling mistakes. It doesn't kind of give the right impression. As much as English may not necessarily be everybody's sort of native first language, what we would always suggest is put together your submission in a Word document. That will check your spelling. And then once you're happy with it, then you can copy it and paste it into the portal segments. But do use spell check. It's really unfortunate in terms of you can read something and thinking, that was so good. But if you're looking at the word excellence and it's got a number of typos in it, it does get noticed, I'm afraid. When you are submitting the text as well, can I suggest that you use subheads? And I was looking before I came on this morning, was just looking at some of the past winners and people who did well, is that they use quite a lot of subheads just to break up the text into little key chunks or groupings. It's easier to digest the content that way. The judges will look at it and think, okay, that's point one, that's point two, point three. So if you can, try and use subheadings just to break up the text. Mentioned it earlier, do not feel that you have to do this all in one go. You've got the time and you can just sort of think, all right, I'm just going to answer this question, have a break, come back to it a week later, whatever. You can go backwards and forwards until you're ready to then submit. So as I said, my suggestion is always look at the Word document, put it into there, just keep reading it. Then when you're happy, transfer the information across, and then you can submit that once it's in the portal. Our favorite one is try to avoid jargon or acronyms. I think anybody who's been in education, that is where the world is full of acronyms. So try and keep it as simple as possible. If anything, trying to just keep to plain English, keep it straightforward. Always quote real figures where you can. It may not always be possible to say your business may not necessarily have all those kind of data things which others might have. But if you do put in figures, they must be real and accurate. And again, over the years, we have seen some things which are clearly just not accurate. So just be careful when you use figures to demonstrate your work that you can back them up. Client quotes, testimonials, there's on each category, there is an area where you can submit the quote or testimonial. What I would also suggest at this point is to try and provide a testimonial which highlights a different strength. So if, and I'm saying it's for Adam because I'm familiar with Adam, is that, oh yeah, he was really easy to work with. Another quote, he was really great to work with. Yeah, he was brilliant to work with. They're all saying the same thing, but they're three different testimonials. So try and vary the mix up as to what did the client get. Three different things which the client got from working with all of you. And then really the final thing is sell the benefits of what you do. There's an old phrase back from Clinton, Bill Clinton, American president, and one of his advisors said, it's about the economy, stupid. It is about the benefits. This is all about what have you done? What has your business done to make the difference to a client, to a customer, to a patient, those things. So really emphasize that is the benefit of your work. And that needs to really sort of come out really very, very loudly. What are the benefits that you have on offer, which people will benefit from? So that's a fairly quick whistle stop. Does that help? Are there any questions?
I have a couple of questions. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, David.
Okay. So on the subject size of business, I noticed that the two categories are kind of SMEs. The best SME category is either micro or under 10. What if you're slightly above 10? And so firstly, is the category called SME 3 to 10 people, or is it just called best SME? And secondly, why haven't you got a category for slightly bigger businesses?
Um, I'll work it in reverse. I will actually answer this question. I'm just going to start from a slightly different perspective.
Sure.
So the reason why we don't have one which is above, it's essentially in terms of the different categories which we have. So each year we tend to think, right, which categories essentially reflect the business environment in the borough? Are there new ones, what I call sort of zeitgeisty ones, which are coming up, which we haven't addressed before? So, for example, culture and arts. And then this year we've inclusive and diversity leadership, things where we know we've not represented that in the awards. We are very mindful that our awards should be around 13 to 15 categories. So it is incredibly competitive space to try and think. Honestly, there's probably a short list of about 3 or 4, which we think we'd love to put that in, but it's quite an onerous task. So essentially, the borough is a fairly sort of a micro business one, tends to be about the 1 to 10s, 1 to 12s. I guess our view was the professional services area would take the ones above the 10 or the 12. That is possibly why. I mean, it would be quite challenging to think, where do we cap this in terms of, should it be 15? Should it be 20? So I guess we looked at it as, we think that sort of 1 to 10 would be, 3 to 10 would capture the bulk, but there probably are others which aren't quite. But I think I think there's a certain degree of flexibility with that. If you were to say, Forbes, we've actually got 12, we're not going to strike it out. But I think it's an element of those are the sort of professional services, then the 3 to 10, and then the micros. But yeah, long answer, I'm afraid, but that's where.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. I can tell it must be really challenging to figure out which
It's
categories and to
fun.
develop each year.
It's really fun because you just need to make sure there's a core of very relevant ones, and there's ones which you think that didn't kind of quite work. Let's go somewhere else. So we just try and mix that up a little bit. Some bulk of the time we get most of it right, but there's always bits where we keep thinking each year, do you know what, we should have done X, Y, Z. So this may be one of the examples for next year, but we shall see.
I've got another quick question. It's probably easy to answer this one because there's a number. What are the costs to attend the awards event?
So to attend the event, the thing which we don't have in Kingston is large areas for having a formal dinner. We are really restricted in the borough on that for capacity. So last year we were at the Doubletree Hilton. We had 175, that capacity of 175. That tends to go to the final 3 finalists. They have 2 tickets each. It depends. If there's some extras, we can extend that up to 6 or so, and sponsors. So it tends to be very limited to the 3 finalists of each category. I wish we could make it more public, but we don't have the space in the borough, unfortunately. But thank you.
Thank you.
Become a finalist, David. Thank you. Can I go to Maya, please?
Hi, sorry, my camera is literally not working. But I was just going to ask, last year, Business Clan applied for the marketing one, but obviously that's not here this year, from what I can see. So we're wondering whether what kind of category you'd recommend applying for if you wanted to kind of go down the marketing route. I'm guessing professional services.
It could be. are you talking about specifically if you're a marketing business wanting to go into marketing as your subject as such?
Yes, if we want, so obviously we're not a marketing business, so it could be more broad than that. We could make an application kind of more broadly across the
Yeah,
whole.
that's why I kind of asked
Yes.
that to you, is because you
Yeah.
obviously do more than that. So if I was in your shoes,
Hmm.
the number would be excellent in customer experience because there's a range of services you provide, professional services. Um, the rising reputation is for work which you may do outside of the borough. So you might be based in the borough, but your work extends the reach. So that is why
Yeah.
we started that last year, and that got good
Mhm.
footfall, really.
Okay,
And then
interesting.
possibly thriving workplace.
Okay, great.
I know, obviously, your senior figures there, and you work very hard on that. So that might be something to look at.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's
Thank
very
you.
helpful. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No. I think the thing, just to recap then and just to finish with, is that I think as an area, we tend to be kind of quite modest, and we tend to think, oh, can we do it? That's okay, but we don't really like shouting about it. This isn't about bragging. This isn't about shouting. This is a point in time to reflect. Do you know what? We actually do a lot of good stuff. We do a lot of good work. We actually make quite a bit of a difference here. And I think it is to reflect on that and to just tell that story. And it's not showing off, it's not being boastful, but it's an element to say, do you know what? Give yourselves a bit of a pat on the back. And that is why the judges, when they look at these entries, are so, each year they say, we had no idea this was going on. This is a really impressive story. And the variety, the diversity, it's there in abundance. So it's an element of just shelve that element. Oh no, maybe I can't. Yes, you can, because there's a number of so many businesses where you look and you think that was damn impressive. And actually, without sounding patronizing, which is probably what can do, is we don't actually step back enough to reflect on what we do. We tend to be spinning our wheels so often, we don't step back and think, do you know what? Actually, yeah, we've done quite a good job here. So park that to one side, have a look at this, and I think there is, um, uh, and I think just use a wee bit of common sense in terms of answer the question, use the spell check. Am I doing what is needed here? And you can put in a really strong entry, as I say, but just remember those top tips, because people, it can be really, it's such a shame where you've seen question 1, 2 hit out the park, really good answers, but then they've kind of completely run out of steam on question 3 and 4. So balance it out, be consistent across your answers. And tell your individual story. Use your words, use your voice, and that really will shine and really make a very, very good impression. Yeah, I think that's about it. If there's any questions you have afterwards, please just drop me a line at forbes@kingstonchamber.co.uk. I'd be more than happy to answer. And even if you get to the point where you're beginning to submit something and you're thinking, I'm a bit stuck here, what shall I do? Please contact Ilona or myself, and we'll be very, very happy to sort of give you some guidance there as well. But otherwise, I'd say happy entering. And so there may be several which you can do. There's a clear overlap in certain areas. So have a look. Oh, one thing which nobody has asked and I haven't mentioned. People often say, how long on average does it take to submit an entry now? there is an element of how long is a piece of string, depending on how much you want to do. But the feedback we've generally had is it's been somewhere between 2 to 3 hours, and that's probably quite a long stretch. And that's not necessarily all in one go, but actually putting the information, sort of collating some basic information, putting it in. And that's kind of coming to it with a bit of a kind of an idea of a framework. I'd say 1 to 2 hours. It's not onerous in terms of putting the information in, but it just depends on the different stories which you might be looking at. And if there's some data you need to get sourced from another third party. But it's not, this isn't hours. This isn't a PhD. This is actually it is meant to be straightforward because you are all very busy. So it is quite straightforward on time. Yeah, that's about it.
Sorry, just to reconfirm, Forbes, this recording would be sent out to us, right? So I can then share it with the others.
Yes, you can share it with Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if there's no more questions, I will let you be in peace. Lisa, so I just wanted to, pardon me, Lisa,
Hi.
Does that all make sense from your perspective? Because as I say, I've mentioned before that you're sort of the nature of your work and sort of the big organisation, how you run it. Does that still seem applicable?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you know, I live outside of the borough, but because of being a member of the chamber, I'm now doing quite a lot of work in the borough, obviously with various different contacts. So I just need to make sure that I make it relevant to that sort of work and those clients that I've been dealing with. So yeah, so I mean, I haven't looked at the questions yet. I need to, but I guess I think there's a professional services category, isn't there? So that would be the one that I would enter.
There is the professional services, yes.
Yeah.
And again, you were the business expo, so mention that as well in terms of your contributor to the business community. That's very, very important.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there I mean, should any of us be lucky enough to get to the finalist stage? Do you know the actual date of the event yet?
The event date, which it will be very near, it's sort of in the 20s of April. We're just confirming that, but it's somewhere around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, yeah, around that period.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time. Good to see you, and I wish you all the very best going forward. And say our door is completely open, so at any point you've got any questions, please do not hesitate to give us an email or a call, and we'll be very, very happy to help you. It is a terrific program. We started this 3-4 years ago now, and each year we're just bowled over by the enthusiasm and sort of the activities which go on. There's a lot in this borough, and it's fantastic to just see how many people contribute to it. It's quite amazing. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hope the rest of your week goes well and smoothly.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Forbes.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Take care. Cheers, everyone.
See you, Adam.